Hello, hello. Today we are chatting with Brian Silbert, author of Berticus, How I Survived School, and Bullies and Farley Finnigan. It's becoming very popular in schools, and I'm excited for this conversation. So excited that you're here today. The scuttle in this house with all of my kids is
Yeah.
Berticus. Berticus. And I've been told that your kids are now reading Berticus.
Yeah, my I have a 7-year-old, soon to be 8, and a 4-year-old. The 4-year-old, she gets it every now and again. But the 7-year-old who is reading and reading chapter books is loving it. And it was funny because she has some books, some chapter books that she likes, and some humorous ones, perhaps in the same genre. And one day it was book was sitting on the counter, and she saw it and she said, "Oh, what's that?" And then I said, "Well, look at it." And then she saw my name and said, I, she got confused, like, "Why is your name on this book?" And then she kind of put two and two together and said, "Wait a minute, did you write this book?" And so, eventually, she was reading it, and then my wife would read chapters before bed and all that.
So you have some Hollywood in your history.
Yeah,
Is there a difference between your daughter enjoying your book versus someone enjoying the show that you produced?
it's a very good question. I guess it's just sort of a one-on-one kind of a thing. Obviously, I wouldn't be able to see every reader enjoy it, but it's nice to hear feedback and nice to get comments, positive comments, and hear from kids and parents, positive commentary. I guess the other thing is that it's like this is me. It's all me. It's all I guess in the TV entertainment world, it's there's writers, producers, casting people, directors. I'm the producer, creator, executive producer, director, writer,
Yeah.
uh, all of it. So not the editor. I'm not going to take credit for editing necessarily.
So my kids aren't the quickest to pick up books. For some reason,
Yeah,
they like to pick up their phone
yeah,
instead of a book.
yeah, yeah. I can relate.
Yeah. So what do you think about this book, like trying using it to help them get into reading?
Well, I'll start by saying the how this all came about was that my mom, who is a reading, has a master's, PhD in reading, just kept bugging me. You got to write a book. Got to write a book because kids in of a certain age, 10, 12, they don't like reading and they'll love to read a book that you write. And she bugged me enough that I finally just said, "All right, just to like stop my mom from bothering me about it." One day I just sat down and I started writing it, and I didn't think it was going to work, to be honest with you. Like I wanted to go back and say, "Mom, I tried, it didn't work. We're done." To the contrary, I don't know, it just started flowing out of me, and the whole premise of it all was that I too was not a kid. To this day, not a person who just picks up a book and can start reading it, unless it is of interest and I can relate and it's entertaining. And otherwise, my mind is just, I'll read the same page 3 times in a row because it's nothing's. So that's it. I wrote I wrote the book for the kids who just don't enjoy reading, and I had that in mind. Every sentence, every word. What's funny? What's gonna be compelling? What's gonna hold their attention? What can they relate to? And addressing that so they go, "Hey, wait a minute, this guy's talking to me. This is we're on the same team here. We're on the same page, and that's really because." That's not necessarily how I felt, or I'm guessing lots of these kids feel in school. They feel like it's like the world against me because, okay, read this book, read this, do this homework assignment. And it just doesn't come easy to many kids, including myself. So it was the type of thing where I wanted, the young readers to pick it up and get them intrigued and interested in reading through this book.
That is interesting that you say that. I didn't know that about authors. I didn't know that That was a kind of thing that you thought about when you were writing something.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, maybe not others, because maybe others do like to read and they're like read everything, but
Oh,
maybe I think that there's like almost a purity in the idea that I wasn't, I didn't have anything else to reference. It was just my head, my world, my experiences, my, stories of being a kid, and things that I remember that were funny and entertaining. The funny, fun uh, parts of school that could keep a kid interested and want a kid coming back, and would want a kid coming back to read, and not being too I guess worried about going to school every day.
well, I don't know if you've rethought how this all came down from the father's point of view, but I will say that you do not encourage your kids to write a book unless you've seen something in them that makes you
Yeah,
think.
yeah, yeah. Right, right. Well, my mom. I mean, my mom. Knows that I like to have fun, and I am creative, and I can write. There's certain things I can write. Like this to me was, I could never write a novel. I'm not the type that can weave multiple storylines through it. But if you're just talking about the creative element of come up with a story, come up with a story that's funny and entertaining and compelling and will hold readers' attention and young readers' attention and perhaps get them interested in reading. That's that after battling my mom and fighting back, I finally gave in and just said, enough. All right, fine. I'll try. And then I'm telling you, one night I just sat down and I remember calling before bed, and I went to sleep, and I was like, all right. It's one of those things where I would always say, Mom, you don't know. And she was right, as
Yes, she
usual.
was.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there are many humans that would say it's not as easy as just coming up with a story and writing something funny. That to me sounds impossible.
Yeah. Well, and
I'd much rather write a novel.
yeah, and it's funny. I've spoken to there's certain things about me and what I do that come easily, and other things that don't. Like I'm not the type, like if there was a novel or historical where I had to like organize notes and timelines and structures, that is like
No,
it's abstract in my brain. I can't do it. But if it's like come up with a story about a kid who on his way to school, trips and falls in the mud and has to figure out how to get to school, and that to me
no,
is sure, that's funny. I can, and that stuff just pours out of me. It's again anything to do with that structural kind of when
no.
it feels like homework, I'm out.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
So when you go to a party, have you gotten to the point where you tell people you're an author?
Yes and no. Not, I don't know. It's weird. I guess that, going back to the Hollywood question, I've been in that industry for so long and lived in Hollywood and dealt with people. And it's just one of those things where, I don't say anything until, there's some heat on a project or people start talking about it, because otherwise you just sound like you're full of it. So now I feel maybe a little bit more comfortable perhaps, but I'm also the type to like a show me, don't tell me kind of a thing. Like I'd rather, I get a bigger kick out of when people say, "Oh my goodness, wait, I read your book," or "I'm
Yeah.
excited to talk to you," versus, "Hey, if people ask me, I'll just downplay it, because this way you're underselling it a little bit, so the lower expectations, so then you know they can hopefully the response is is
Yeah.
positive.
And do you see a Berticus 2 in the future at some point?
Yeah, I do. It's funny again that creatively I felt like it's not easy to write a book, but once I got the characters down, and I know who Berticus is, I know who Thatch is, I know how the characters will react in various situations to Berticus or his actions. It became easier. So like in that it just kind of flows. Any situation, like what would Verticus do here?
Mm.
So to answer your question, is there a Verticus 2 in the future? I think so. look, I'm busy, so I won't just write it for the heck of it for fun. But if readers are interested and you know, enough, if there's enough interest, sure, there could be a Berticus too for sure. In fact, uh, one morning, not that long ago, I woke up and just an idea popped into my head, and I just jumped up. First thing I did was go to the computer and just start writing out uh, a day that Berticus had a substitute teacher. And for me personally, a lot of this is based on me. Some of it loosely, some of it right on, some of it totally fictitious.
I do like the author's creation
Fictitious,
of words.
fictitious. It's fictitious. It's a new word.
Yes, it's excellent.
Yeah. But he had a substitute teacher, and this particular substitute teacher had his last name had 12 syllables, which
Nice.
Berticus just, was kind of
Yes.
in his mind went with it. And then in the chapter, recalls the regular substitute teacher that they would have, who at one day, which was their last day of ever substitute teaching at the school, and they had never seen the substitute teacher again because she had locked herself in the storage closet accidentally from the inside. And
Nice.
the teachers, the faculty, nobody could figure out how it happened, but she spent the majority of the day in the storage room, and the principal and science teachers were trying to figure out how to get her out, and they slid her lunch underneath the door, and they basically like assembled a sandwich because they figured, what can we give her that's thin? And they put cold cuts and cheese and thinly sliced bread. So yeah.
That is fantastic. Spoken like a true author, getting out of bed to write down some ideas.
Yeah, that's the only reason I do get out of bed.
Well, we very much appreciate your time. So excited to see Berticus is actually now getting some traction, getting
Yeah,
some readers. It's finally reaching the world, and people are hopefully some of these kids will walk away a little bit more confident.
absolutely. Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.